Hello Mind Mappers and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes, a real-world guide to living bigger, loving deeper, and leaving a legacy. And I just love the concept of this book. Essentially what Lewis has done is bring all of these great ideas from the people he's had on his podcast and his mentors and put them all into one book. And really that's what I'm doing with this YouTube channel as well, is taking all the great ideas that people have had for us before and putting them into an easily digestible mind map for you. With that, let's get directly into the introduction, The School of Greatness. I pulled out one of the quotes that I believe gives us a good overview of what we can expect to learn here today. The place I am talking about is more like Plato's cave than the red circle on the TED stage. My amazing mentors did not speak to me for 18 minutes and then disappear into the ether. They sat across from me, literally and virtually, and brought me out of the shadows into the light of the real knowledge. How did this happen? I'm still not entirely sure, but there is one thing I know beyond any doubt. They fired my passion to sit across from you through the pages of this book and share their teachings with you. I've come to call this place the School of Greatness. It's not your stereotypical school. There are no classrooms, no homework, no principal or dean enforcing the rules or even tracking your attendance. With the School of Greatness, you learn how to recognize and harness this potential that you have. You will come to understand the importance of dreams and the tools that exist within you to make those dreams a reality. The School of Greatness is not a bag of tricks and hacks. It's not a boot camp. It's a way of life, a way of living. When you want to lose weight and keep it off, you don't go on a diet because diets are about artificial restriction. They're miserable, and instead you change your lifestyle to match your goals. This is the same thing. The School of Greatness is a lifestyle for a lifetime that you are going to love. So again, really what we're doing here inside of the book, and what Lewis is really kind of eloquently describing here in the introduction, is learning from the best. The School of Greatness. Of course, Lewis has interviewed some of the world's most interesting and successful people on his podcast, and this book is just a culmination of everything that he learned from them. I really love the idea of this book. It's what this channel is all about, and The School of Greatness for me is so good because it's full of practical exercises. Today I pulled out my favorite exercises from the book, but the real meta here is that you should be creating your own School of Greatness. That's really what we're looking to do in our own lives. You want to seek out the people who are further along the journey than you and tap into that, whether it's through books, whether it's through videos, whether it's through coaching and mentorship. You need to be willing to learn for a lifetime and be willing to have that growth mindset that Carol Dweck talks about in all of her books. You want to make sure that you're learning from the best, but also learning from people that are just a little bit further along the journey than you as well. I think that what Lewis has done is bring us ideas from some of the top performers, but then Lewis kind of filters that through himself, someone who I feel like I can connect with. I can feel like he's asking the questions that I would want to ask to these people. And I think that that is very helpful as well. It may be a little bit underrated with Lewis's podcast, how good it is that Lewis simply is one of us. And he asks the questions that we might ask. He reflects back in the way that we might reflect. And we can see some of ourselves in him being taught by these amazing mentors. But I think that's what we want to create for ourselves, is this amazing School of Greatness full of a ton of mentors who are much further along than us, and full of some pupils, perhaps, that are closer to the same level that we're at. With that, let's talk a little bit about mind mapping. You can get the most out of these mind maps by following along. You can find the process of how I mind map, plus all 50 plus mind maps available on the channel, including this one, all at the link down below. Following along with the mind maps is going to help you learn more, remember better, and apply these books to your life. And if you visit that link down below, you can also get access to my masterclasses. Essentially, I've taken some of the best books on a particular topic and synthesized them together to give you the most bang for your buck when you're doing your learning. Our first big idea here is about greatness. Greatness, as I've come to learn from people like Sean, is not just about holding a gold medal at the top of a podium. Talking about Shaun White, one of the most winning medalists in Olympics history. It's about inspiring people about sharing a message, about believing the truth in that cliche, that it's the journey, not the destination, to some perceived treasure or moment of adulation. In fact, there are a million ways to be great, and a million more things to be great at. Most of them don't come with a gold medal or a giant check. Of course, you can consider this list: being a parent, being an artist, being generous, being a leader, being a change maker, being an advocate, being healthy, being an entrepreneur, and being of service. All of these are amazing dreams where greatness is a worthy and attainable goal. Those who have become great at any one of them, irrespective of plaques on their walls or trophies on their mantle, are the people that we can all learn from. And I love this message. Essentially what he's saying here is that greatness is for everyone. Often we reserve greatness for people who have accomplished something big in the public eye, like Sean has at the Olympics. But greatness can really be for anyone. Greatness can be for each of us in any one of these domains, in multiple of these domains. Whatever you choose to do with your life, your goal should be greatness. It doesn't need to be the role that you're playing, the goal. The goal should be greatness. Actually, I think we all have this inherent desire for greatness as well. I believe it's a natural human instinct to drive towards mastery in our chosen field. The field might be very different, and in fact, sometimes we spend so much time choosing the field that we're going to be great in that we get distracted from just getting down to business. Only a few of them are, of course, looked up upon in society. A famous artist is going to be looked up upon more than a great parent, and that's just kind of the way that society is currently. But whatever the field, greatness and the instinct to achieve mastery is beautiful, and it's an amazing process to go through. And whatever your role is, or whatever your many roles might be, greatness should be the goal, not only because you're going to help other people around you, but also because that's what your soul really wants. At least that's what I believe. So how about you? What does greatness look like in your life? What's your chosen field of greatness? Or what are your chosen fields? Are you a parent during the day and an artist at night? Are you a leader at work and then a change maker at your house? There's all these different roles that you can make. I think a good place to start with achieving greatness is, why are you pursuing it, right? Why is being a great parent important to you? Why is being an artist important to you? Why is being generous or a leader important to you? And then after you've got that understood, is, what does greatness look like for you? What does being a great parent mean? What does being a great artist mean? What are you striving for? And it's important to have kind of point A, why am I doing this? And point B, what does the greatness inside of me look like? So that you know where you're at along the journey and you know what to do next. Our next big idea here is Great 8. As Sean put it to me, greatness means having pride in yourself, being happy with yourself, and knowing you've worked for something and couldn't have done anything more. That is greatness in and of itself. It is cultivating the character and habits that not only lead you to success, but also help you overcome any challenge or adversity. It's about lifting yourself up from the depths of despair and using mindfulness, joy, and love to harness your dreams. It's a very interesting description of greatness, right? Lifting yourself up from the depths of despair and using mindfulness, joy, and love to harness your dreams. We talked about the why before. This is deeply connected to the why, the mindfulness, the joy, and harnessing our dreams. It's a progression through a series of lessons, 8 areas of focus and continual improvement. Create a vision, turn adversity into advantage, cultivate a champion's mindset, develop hustle, master your body, practice positive habits, build a winning team, and be of service to others. And that's what this book is written all about. 8 areas of greatness, 8 areas that we need to focus on if we're going to achieve greatness. Each area gets its own chapter and lessons from the mentors. Each area in and of itself, of course, is worth exploring deeply, but we've only got 30 minutes in this video, so I picked out my favorite lessons from a few of each of these different categories. Here's a quick overview of each point and how you can think about it on a kind of meta or macro level. So number one, we're talking all about creating a vision. We want to think, what is our life's vision? What are the different areas that I want to achieve greatness in? Number two is turning adversity into an advantage. How can you turn the obstacle in the way to the way? How can you use obstacles to your advantage to become greater along the journey? Number three is cultivate a champion's mindset. Mindset is everything. How's yours? Turn it into a champion's. There we're talking all about going from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset. Do you believe that you have the ability to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish, even if you don't have the skills right now? Number four is develop hustle. Hustle is the barrier to entry of greatness, in most areas at least. Are you hustling? Taking a true look into how hard you're working to make your dreams and your goals of greatness a reality. Number five is to master your body, something we talk a lot about on the channel. Energy makes everything easier. Are you sleeping well, exercising, and eating well? Those are kind of things that are going to make hustling a little bit easier. Number six is practice positive habits. Keystone habits is something that we've been talking a lot about on the channel recently. What is the one habit that, if you change it, will change everything for you? It might be sleeping. It might be quitting smoking. It might be stopping drinking. It might be just picking up an exercise routine. What's the one habit such that if you had that habit, it would make everything else a little bit easier? Number seven is build a winning team. If you want to go far, go with the team. Look at yours. Make sure they're great. Or at the very least, help them get there. Help the people around you level up their own selves. Number eight is be of service to others. A life of service is a life worth living. How can you give more to the people around you and the people that aren't around you, the people that are connected to something that is meaningful for you? Those are all really great points. Those are the eight areas of greatness. Our first big idea, highlighted in blue, that I believe is one of the best ideas in the entire book, is hang up. Write down your goal. Print it, frame it, hang it up somewhere where you'll see it every single day. Writing down your goal is a powerful thing. Declaring your vision and putting a date on it as though it will happen, or as Angel would say, like it already did, is even more powerful. This exercise is about getting total clarity on what you want and why you want it, and then declaring your vision for yourself in the next 6 months or whatever date you have in your head, as long as it's specific. Your goal can be financial, personal, health, or career related. It almost doesn't matter what the vision is. There is one rule. It must be something that terrifies you when you say it out loud to someone that you respect. At the same time, it should be something that is possible to achieve in the allotted time frame, provided that you put in the work. And then you write yourself a new goal once it's completed. So this is all about the vision that we talked about before. I think this is a big part of greatness, is we have to know what greatness is going to look like for us. So what is your vision? That's what we're talking about inside of this point. Most of us don't even know what it is in the first place. Most of us never even give it another thought. It takes a lot of soul searching, commitment, and self-confidence to even speak what our vision might be. And that much more to actually write it down and tell it to someone that we admire, right? We might have a vision in our head for ourselves, but we're not likely to tell it to someone that we admire. We're not likely to hang it up on the wall, like Lewis says. But that's commitment. That's writing it down and speaking it into existence, but not in the kind of manifesting way, but in the I'm going to accomplish this type way. But if we don't know what we're aiming for, of course, how will we know what greatness looks like? How will we know what to chase and what to leave alone? This leave alone piece is just as important as how to know what to go after. We have a tendency to go on a million different paths and just take 100 steps down one path instead of 1,000 steps down one path. 100 steps down 10 paths rather than 1,000 steps down one. Of course, if we take all of our steps down one path, we're going to get a lot further towards the greatness that we are looking for. So how will we be able to recruit a team if we don't know what our vision is? Of course, this is super important. If you can't sell yourself on your own vision, how are you going to sell other people to work towards that vision with you? How will you be able to keep your energy up and do things that make you uncomfortable if you don't even know what you're doing it for. So a good question to ask yourself here, if you're trying to just get started with your vision, trying to understand what you actually really want, is what's the number one thing that you want to accomplish this year? Try to write that down in just 4 to 6 words, as simple as you possibly can. And then do what Lewis says. Frame it, hang it up, and tell people you admire. And be okay changing out 4 or 6 words. Now, when you hang it up on the wall, it should be as close as you possibly can to actually the thing that you want. Of course, you can take it down and change it or stroke out one of the words and change that, but keep in mind that you have time. You can actually kind of take time to meditate, take time to ponder what my vision might be. Here's mine, for example. Share big ideas with 250,000 people this year. That's all coming through my YouTube channel, at least that's the plan right now. And that's a big goal. I don't get that many views on the channel right now. I'm going to have to certainly get a whole lot more views and continue to up the level of quality of the videos is really the way that I plan on doing that. So that's the type of goal that you should set. Something that's big, something that's scary, and tell it to people that, you would be unlikely to tell it to if you didn't have a high level of commitment. Of course, I wouldn't tell this to you guys, the viewers of the channel, if I wasn't committed to actually getting that done. Our next big idea here is perfect day. In this exercise, your job is to map out what your perfect day looks like along the path to achieving your vision. And I should have highlighted both of these blue because I love this point so much. There are 2 parts of this exercise, the macro and the micro. First up is the macro part, where you figure out what your perfect day would look like at a general level. Not every day is going to be exactly the same, of course. Each day will look a little different depending on what happened the day before. It should look a little different, otherwise life would get boring and monotonous. Still, you want to have a broad sense for what each perfect day will feel like. This starts with a series of questions. How do I want every day to look? How do I want every day to feel? What am I creating daily? Whom am I spending time with? What places am I exposing myself to? And what passions am I fulfilling? All good questions. So if we want to live a perfect life, really what we need to do is to string together a bunch of perfect days. And of course, a bunch of perfect days are just made up of a bunch of perfect hours, and a bunch of perfect hours are made up by a bunch of perfect minutes. When we think about creating our perfect life or accomplishing our vision, we can tend to get overwhelmed. Even just listening to the hang up point before, where I talked about creating the vision, writing it down, and hanging it up on the wall, I bet some of you skipped right over that because it felt a little overwhelming, and I totally understand that. How do we overcome that overwhelm that we can feel when really committing to our goals? We want to ground that grand vision in the day-to-day actions that are going to actually lead to it and almost forget the grand vision. Almost let that go. If we're feeling overwhelmed by the vision, let's let that go, and what we'll do instead is focus on the actions that we're taking day to day. So based on what your vision is, what do you need to do each day? How are you going to keep your eye on the prize? How are you going to keep your energy up? Who are the people that you'll need to be around and connected to? And what actions that you can do each day will move you towards your vision? It's time to draw this out. What does this look like for you? What does your perfect day look like? Let's ground this down and write it on a piece of paper that you can follow every day. And like Lewis said, don't make it so that you have every moment planned out. Don't make it 15-minute intervals about exactly what you're going to do, but definitely have a little bit of a schedule. Definitely have a little bit of a plan for the day and a plan for each day and a plan for the time when you're going to do the work, a plan for the time when you're going to recharge. Those are all very, very important. Do your best to make each day look as perfect as possible while having the natural ebbs and flows of life so it doesn't get boring and monotonous. The vision or goal eventually will take care of itself, and you don't need to be focused on the vision. You don't need to be focused so much on the goal. Rather, the goal is kind of like a point B, where you've got this 2 points on a map. You've got where I am right now and where I want to be given what my vision is. Your idea then, or your purpose then, is to really just set upon the path each day and recorrect the course, just like a GPS would. Our next point is about adversity. When adversity arises, you have two choices. Number one, you could do nothing and let it overwhelm you and fall victim to your circumstances. Number two, you could embrace the challenge and move towards the adversity, making it part of your success story. Prepare yourself for these moments because they're going to happen in all areas of your life, whether you like it or not. When you understand this and learn to embrace adversity, then you can learn to overcome it and use it to your advantage. So in my opinion, and this isn't always true of course, but the vast majority of the time, this is the rule. Anything worth doing is going to come with adversity. Whether you're trying to be a business owner or a parent, things are going to be tough sometimes. Actualizing your potential means moving past adversity and not letting it get you stuck. Having the ability to notice adversity, embrace the challenge, and move forward is probably the number one skill of greatness. So, how do you frame adversity? Right now, when you come up upon an obstacle in the path, what happens? The first way, of course, is to see the obstacle and use it as a reason to stop. The second way is to see adversity as an opportunity. How is this obstacle going to give me an opportunity to learn and grow so that the next time I come upon an obstacle, I'll be better able to overcome it? So really the mindset that we want to adopt, of course, is that I love adversity. And we should make a little t-shirt about this so that we can remind ourselves every day. Every time I come up against adversity, my mind goes into mode number one of being stuck. And I bet this is probably the same for a lot of you. But I know that's not how I'm going to get where I'm going. So instead, I try to change the way that I see it. Sometimes I think every time I come up against something hard, most other people won't be willing to go through this. And this is how I can stand apart. That's how I tend to turn adversity into greatness. What I tend to do is see adversity as a barrier to entry for other people. Not to me, because I'm going to overcome this, but other people might not have the same fortitude that I have. That's one way that we can turn adversity into greatness. We can see it as a barrier to entry for other people. So if I can overcome this, there's going to be significantly less people on the other side of this obstacle. Our final point is the blue point, one of the best ideas of the entire book: hustle. Chris was tapping into something that I think 18-time Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps described best when he talked about his swim training. If you want to be the best, you have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. Exactly what we talked about inside of adversity. He, Chris, was willing to do whatever it took. You have to chase opportunity, whether you're an entrepreneur or an artist, especially for me, because I had to make up for so much lost time. The irony is that we're all making up for lost time. That is the essence of hustle in the pursuit of greatness. Doing whatever it takes and chasing opportunity with great urgency. Like your life depends on it, because it does. Greatness is really the survival of your vision across an extended timeline, based on your willingness to do whatever it takes in the face of adversity, and to adopt the mindset to seize opportunity wherever it lies, even if the opportunity is adversity. So really, this idea of hustle, this idea of making up for lost time, is coming from the story of Lewis's brother, who went to prison for selling drugs as a young man. Eventually, he spent his time in prison and came out to be one of the best jazz violinists in the entire world. Talk about making up for lost time. But Lewis is making a point here. He's saying, okay, my brother was making up for lost time because he kind of got a bad rap. It's a long story, but kind of got a bad rap, went to prison for selling drugs. But aren't we all making up for lost time? Greatness requires that you live up to your potential moment to moment to moment. We talked about before, if you want to have a perfect day, you need to have a perfect hour, which needs a perfect minute. And of course, a perfect day leads to a perfect life eventually. But really what that means is we need to live up to our potential moment to moment to moment. Meaning that every minute we're not moving towards who we could become, we're technically behind. We're technically coming from behind. Now, this isn't to make you feel bad about where you are right now, but it is to imprint a small sense of urgency into you. Of course, we're all on a different point on our journey. No one path to greatness looks the same. There's a lot of people that became great in whatever their field is late on in life. But nonetheless, wherever you are right now, in this moment, I want you to realize that you can take small steps towards greatness. Living up to your potential, moment to moment to moment, eventually leads you to living a great life, and eventually leads you to greatness. So that was The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. I want to thank you for being with me here in the video. If you want to get this mind map, you can go to that link down below. And if you want to get access to my masterclasses, you can go to themindmapguy.com. I've synthesized some of the best books and the biggest ideas on particular topics to make your learning journey a little bit easier. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.